Hello students, how are you all? Hope you all are fine at your home and you would have completed your biology projects also in the holidays. That was the holiday homework. Now in biology we will start our syllabus from chapter 1, that is cell, the structural and functional unit of life. So before I start the explanation, you all open your book, chapter 1 in your book, and go through the key terms also when I explain you. So underline the key terms and pay attention on the key terms during explanation. Okay, so what are the different topics we are going to study in the chapter? They are cell, structural and functional unit, discovery of cell, how the cell was discovered by the scientist, cell theory, prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell, cell shape, size and number, structure of a typical cell, difference between plant cell and animal cell, and cell functions. Now we'll start with the first part. What is cell? A cell is defined as the smallest. Why we call it a smallest? Because we cannot see the cell with the naked eyes. This is microscopic. So smallest basic unit of life that is responsible for all of the life's processes. So let me see the detail of cell. Cells are structural because they form the structure of the body. Cells are the structural, functional. Yes, each cell has cell organelles and they all are functional. They all have their different functions and biological units of living beings. A cell can replicate itself independently. Replicates means cell divides and form the new daughter cells or the daughter cells of the same kind of the parent cell. Hence, they are known as the building blocks of life also. Each cell contains a fluid called the cytoplasm. Inside the cell, fluid present known as cytoplasm, which is enclosed by the membrane. That membrane we call it as a cell membrane. Cellular structures called cell organelles. They are suspended in the cytoplasm. Also present in the cytoplasm are several biomolecules like proteins, nucleic acids, and lipids. Now we'll see here that cell is called as the structural and functional unit of living being that we have discussed previously. A cell is a structural and functional unit of all living being. So let me see why is cell called as structural unit. The cells are the building blocks of living beings. Building blocks means they form the structure of the body of a living organism. Like many cells come together to form tissues and tissues collectively forms organ. Thus every organ in our body like skin, muscles, brain and heart, it is made up of hundreds of thousands of cells. So cell is known as the structural unit. These cells are of different shapes, sizes, and they are just like bricks of the building. That is why we call them as building blocks. They provide structure to the body of living organism. So you understood well that why is cell called as the structural unit, as they provide structure to the body of all living organism. Now the next question is, why is cell called as functional unit? Cells, they comprise several cell organelles that perform a specialized function to carry out the life processes. Every organelle has a specific structure and function. Okay, so many cell organelles are there like mitochondria, nucleus, endoplasmic reticulum, and many more. And each of the cell organelle has a specific function. So all these cell organelles together, they work and make the cell functional, and each cell is the functional unit, and all cells in an organ, they work together, and then the whatever function is performed by the organ is actually the function performed by the cell. So cell is known as the functional unit. So understood why is cell called as a structural unit and functional unit. Now we'll come to the discovery of cell. How was cell discovered? So Robert Hooke was the scientist who discovered the cell in 1665. Robert Hooke observed a piece of bottle cork under a compound microscope and observed the large number of compartments joined together in a honeycomb like structure. So he observed a cork tissue, which is the dead tissue, and what he found, large number of compartment room like structures in a honeycomb like structure. So he named these compartments as cells. In Latin, cella means compartments. However, his compound microscope had limited magnification, hence he could not see any details in the structure, only the outer structure he could see. Because of this limitation, Hooke concluded that these were known living entities. So the discovery of the cell was done by scientist Robert Hooke. He was the scientist who discovered the cell, who observed the cell first, but it was the dead one. Now later Anton von Leeuwenhoek observed cells under another compound microscope with higher magnification, and this time he had noted that the cells exhibited some form of movement also, motility also, and he concluded that these microscopic entities were alive. Next, that step in the discovery of cell is Robert Brown, a Scottish botanist, provided very first insight into the cell structure, and then he was able to describe the nucleus present in the cells of orchids. So here you have seen the contribution of the scientist who discovered the cell, who observed the cell first. So here who discovered the cell? Robert Hooke. Now we'll see here that the invention of microscope helped in the discovery of the cell. As I said you earlier, cell is the smallest unit of the body. It is microscopic. It is the smallest part of the body of an organism. So the invention of microscope helped in the discovery of the cell. And the first microscope was constructed by Anton von Leeuwenhoek. Okay, its name was simple microscope. Okay, it was known as simple microscope. Now this is the simple microscope which was constructed by Anton von Leeuwenhoek. It consisted of a single biconvex lens. The lens was here. So consisted of single biconvex lens, and an eyepiece was located close to the lens on one side, while the object was mounted on the screw point. This is the screw, and at the screw point the object was placed. Some of the Leeuwenhoek's microscope could magnify objects up to 200 times. So it was the first microscope constructed by Leeuwenhoek. Now next, Robert Hooke developed a compound microscope. Next is the compound microscope. So Robert Hooke developed a compound microscope, and he had used two lenses. Okay, two lenses were used by him for achieving the greater magnification. In such microscope, the object to be seen was placed on a stage. You can see this was the microscope constructed by Robert Hooke, and you can see all this is eyepiece, and here the focusing screw, here the objective, and here the specimen holder. So specimen The object to be seen was placed on a stage below, and light coming from oil lamp. You can see that this is oil lamp. So light coming from an oil flame passing through a water flask. You see this water flask. Okay. It was thrown on it by a convex mirror onto the object. So in this way, cells were discovered by Robert Hooke in 1665. He observed thin slice of cork under his microscope and he named it as the cell. Now the next microscope, the ordinary light or optical or compound microscope. This type of microscope is used extensively in laboratories these days. It is a fairly improved design of Hooke's microscope. Robert Hooke discovered. It consisted of two lenses. Two lenses are there, eyepiece and objective lenses. Two lenses, eyepiece and objective lens, and they combine together to produce a greater magnification power. So the light microscope has a magnification power up to 1500 times. So it was more improved design of Hooke's microscope. So this type of microscope you have seen in the laboratory. Now next microscope we will see here, electron microscope. So EM, its short form is EM. Invention of electron microscope unfolded many new discoveries about the cell. Now in electron microscope, a beam of electron is passed through the section of material to produce the image. That is why it is electron microscope. Okay. Now the electron beam passing through the specimen section is focused by electromagnets and projected onto a fluorescent screen for direct view or onto a photographic plate for permanent recording. So the resulting photograph we get from electron microscope is known as electron micrograph. And the electron microscope has power of magnification over 2 lakhs times. So much more than the optical or the light microscope. So understood the types of microscope division. Here the discovery of the microscopes we have studied. First the simple microscope, then compound microscope by Robert Hooke, then light or optical microscope which is used in the laboratories, the electron microscope. Now we'll see the cell theory. The cell theory was formulated by the German scientists Theodor Schwann, Matthias Schleiden and Rudolf Virchow. Their theory stated that the cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. In 1885, Rudolf Virchow added a phrase, that is omnis cellula e cellula, meaning all cells arise from pre-existing cells. So what are the main postulates of the cell theory? Cell is the structural and functional unit of all living beings. Okay, all living beings, their body is made up of cells. All cells arise from pre-existing cells. All you know that new cells are formed as a result of division of the pre-existing cells. The chemical composition and metabolic processes of all the cells are same. They are alike. The function of an organism as a whole is the outcome of combined activities and interaction of the constituent cells. As I explained you already, that cell is known as the functional unit because each cell has many organelles. Each organelle has its specific function, and together all cell organelles, they perform their functions and make a cell functional unit. All the cells in the body of an organism, they function together, and as a whole it is the outcome of combined activity and interactions of the constituent cells. So whatever function is performed by the organism is the outcome of the combined activities of the constituent cells. So understood cell theory, three scientists who formulated it, and these are the main postulates of the cell theory. Now, types of cells. On the basis of their nuclear organizations, cells have been classified into two types: prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. So let me understand the meaning of these terms, prokaryotic and eukaryotic. The term prokaryote is derived from the Greek word pro. Pro means before, and karyons means kernel, that is nucleus. It translates to before nuclei. Means prokaryotic cells, they do not have well organized nucleus. While in the eukaryotic cell, the term eukaryotes is derived from Greek word eu, meaning good, and karyon meaning, that is nucleus or kernel. Therefore, translating to good or true nuclei, means eukaryotic cells, they have well defined nuclear region surrounded by a nuclear membrane, while the prokaryotic cells, they have undefined nuclear region due to absence of nuclear membrane. So this is the basic difference in between the prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. As such, no nucleus in prokaryotic cells, no nuclear membrane, while in eukaryotic cells, well defined nucleus is present. Now, size. So prokaryotic cells, they range in size from 2 micrometer to 0.2 micrometer to 2 micrometer in diameter, and eukaryotic cells are being larger one from 10 micrometer to 100 micrometer in diameter. Prokaryotic cells, they have single molecule of circular DNA. Their DNA is circular, okay, single molecule. And in eukaryotic cells, there are many DNA, and these DNA, they are linear, okay, they are linear DNA, okay, and all these DNA, they condense together and form the chromosome. As such, no chromosome, it is found in the prokaryotic cells. Nucleolus is absent in prokaryotic cell. You know, nucleolus is the structure present in the nucleus, as no nucleus in the prokaryotic cell, so nucleolus is absent. In eukaryotic cell, nucleolus present. Now, membrane bound organelles absent. What are the membrane bound organelles? Like nucleus, mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi body, all these are the membrane bound organelles. They are absent in the prokaryotic cell, while they are present in the eukaryotic cell. Examples of the prokaryotic cells are bacteria, blue-green algae, and examples of eukaryotic cells are plants, animal, fungi, protozoa, many more are there. So, on the basis of their difference, you learn about prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. So, understood, students, the difference between these two cells? Now, I'll show you here the diagram of eukaryotic and prokaryotic cell. You see here, this the first one is the eukaryotic cell. This is an animal cell. You just see here in the center, nucleus is present. This is endoplasmic reticulum. This is the cytoplasm fluid present in the cell. Here the outer boundary, this is the cell membrane, DNA present in the nucleus, lysosome, ribosome, mitochondria, Golgi body. So all these structures are present in the eukaryotic cell. While on the other hand, when you see the prokaryotic cell, this is prokaryotic cell, a bacterial cell, you see here that nucleoid is there, no nucleus. You see here, no nucleus is here. Here only the DNA. Okay, circular DNA is there, cytoplasm, ribosomes, plasma membrane. They have flagella also. Okay, flagellum for the movement. Their outer body has the cilia, and for protection they have cell wall also. So practice the diagram of prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Now we'll discuss the next point here: cell shape, size and number. Cells shape, first we discuss the cell shape. Cells show a great variation in their shapes to suit their functions. So all the cells, they do not have the same shape and size. They have different shapes and size depending upon their function. So cells may be spindle shaped, elongated, oval, cuboidal, branched, irregular shaped. Spindle shaped like muscle cells are there. Elongated like the nerve cells. Oval like RBC oval shape. Cuboidal germ cells are there. And branched cells are there like this bone cell or osteocytes and chromatophores. Some cells, they do not have the regular shape like amoeba. This you have seen in the previous classes also, the diagram of amoeba. And the RBC, this, sorry, white blood cells are also there, that is leukocytes. They do not have their definite shape. So these are the different shapes of the cells. Now we'll see the cell size. Cell size: smallest, longest and largest. Three cell size we see: smallest, longest and largest. Smallest, PPLO. The smallest cell is the mycoplasma or PPLO. The full form of PPLO is pleuropneumonia like organism. So you underline this in your notebook, there in your book, and note down it also, this short form PPLO, pleuropneumonia like organisms. Size varies from 0.1 micrometer to 0.5 micrometer. Now other cells are also there, the small one like bacterial cell, 0.5 to 5 micrometer. Human RBC 7 to 20 micrometer. Human liver and kidney cells 20 to 30 micrometer. Now this is small size cell, they are more efficient. A small size cell means larger surface area, and the large surface area ensures greater diffusion of nutrients and respiratory gases into the cell and the metabolic waste and carbon dioxide of the cell. So understood the small sized cell, how are they helpful in the function. Now next we'll come to the longest cell. Longest cells are the nerve cells. They are about 90 to 100 centimeter in length. For example, here that this is the nerve cell, and here in the alga acetobularia, single cell alga is there. It has its that filament of length of 10 centimeter, and other that cells are there like cotton fiber 4 centimeter long, hemp fiber 1 meter long. After smallest and longest, we'll see the largest cell. The largest cells are birds' eggs. Okay, for example, the egg of an ostrich is 170 into 135 mm in the size, largest single cell. Egg of hen is 16 to 45 mm. Human female ovum is 0.1 mm in diameter. So all this is about the cell size and importance of the cell size we have studied. Now we'll come to the cell number. Now on the basis of number of cells present in the organisms are divided into two groups: single celled organism or unicellular organism. Many organisms are made up of only one cell. They are called single celled or unicellular. For example, here you can see amoeba, euglena, Chlamydomonas, Paramecium, bacteria. Okay, so these are the single celled or the unicellular organisms. Next we'll see the multi-celled organism, or we call them multicellular organisms. So most organisms are multicellular or multi-celled. They are made up of several cells. For example, mango tree, human, animal, you can see here the various organisms are shown here, plant and trees, insects, fish. They are multicellular organism. A newly born human baby has 2 trillion cells, while an adult man has 100 trillion cells. So, in this way, you understood what are multicellular organisms, what are unicellular organisms. So, students, today we have studied the different parts in the cell, the structural and functional unit of life. We have discussed the definition of the cell. What is a cell? A cell is the structural and functional unit of living being. After that, we have studied the discovery of cell done by the Robert Hooke. He was the first who observed the cell, and we have discussed the discovery of the microscope also, the first microscope constructed by Anton von Leeuwenhoek. It was simple microscope. Next, compound microscope was developed by Robert Hooke, and further we have studied light microscope, electron microscope. After the discovery of microscope, I explained you cell theory, which was formulated by the scientists Schleiden, Schwann and Virchow. And Virchow added a phrase omnicellula e cellula, meaning all cells arise from pre-existing cells. The main postulates of the cell theory. Then we have studied the division of the cells, the types of the cells on the basis of their nuclear organization, prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. Further, we had discussed cell shape, the different shapes, cell size and number. So you revise these topics in your book and solve some exercises given in your book, and the some of the exercises given at the last pages of your chapter, so that you solve. And next part of this chapter we will do in the next class.